Hello, and welcome to this week's MTV, where I want to complete our third installment of the word peace. We've talked about Philippians 4:6, be anxious for nothing, instead pray about everything, and take your petitions, your supplications, your requests with thanksgiving before the Lord. And then the part that I want to focus on today is in verse 7, where it says, and the peace that surpasses all understanding will guard your heart and mind in Christ Jesus. So the peace that surpasses all understanding. You know, the peace, that means harmony, that's typically related to your relationship with other people, harmony relationally, or peace could be security, safety, salvation. For those of us who are followers of Jesus Christ, there is a peace that comes from knowing that our salvation is in the Lord. There's an assurance there. So that peace is a very broad, encompassing word, so many different things that we are able to gain when we actually have peace. So the peace that surpasses, do you know that word surpasses means to stand out, to rise above, superior in rank? And it occurred to me that peace ranks higher than fear. Peace ranks higher than anxiety. Peace ranks higher than those who are set against discouraging us. Peace outranks those things because God is giving it. So it must surpass. So it surpasses our understanding. That's our mind's ability not only to understand, but to feel, to judge, to discern. All of those things are wrapped up in the word understanding. And then we get to the word where I really want to spend my time, which is guard. The word guard means to protect, prevent, specifically prevent hostile invasion, protect by guarding. You see, the peace that surpasses all understanding is going to guard our heart and our mind in Christ Jesus. So in effect, the heart typically is known as the seat for our physical life. Yes, you know, our heart is important for pumping blood and keeping us living, but it's also known as the seat for us spiritually, what's happening in our spiritual life. And so it's going to guard our heart and it's going to guard our mind. Now, of course, you know my passion for the mind and thinking and the power of our thinking, whether we're thinking positively and that leads us down a positive path, or we're thinking negatively and that leads us down a negative path. We need peace to guard our heart and our mind in Christ Jesus. The thought, the illustration that came to my mind, because there's been so much talk about tornadoes, and of course, living here in the midst of Tornado Alley in the North Dallas area, many areas more north of us have cellars. And so when a tornado comes by and people are told to take cover, they actually get into a cellar, those cellar doors close, and then they have something that locks those doors into place so that as the winds and that vacuum effect begin to pull on the doors are able to remain closed. That's the idea. So I want to relate this to how peace guards our heart and mind. So when we're in the midst of turmoil or struggle or something that is causing us anxiety, I want you to think of that as the tornado that is spinning in your life. And the tornado tends to suck things into it. And so if we are not being guarded in our heart and our mind, then we can begin to be so overwhelmed because we have all of these swirling thoughts and worries and concerns and unknowns. And it can really throw us, we can feel totally out of control, as though our life is just barreling out of control. Yet when we choose to do things God's way, when we've chosen to be anxious for nothing, but instead we've prayed about it and we've made our request to God and we've been thankful and we allow that peace to guard our heart and our mind, it's as though we are entering into the cellar protection of God's peace. The doors, those cellar doors, are like the peace of God, and the lock that holds those doors in place, or the latch, that's the trust that you have that God is able to protect you through it, to guard and to protect you from invasion of those things which desire to take you off course. Fred and I have been experiencing really having to try to live in the midst of a peace that surpasses understanding in trying to get our property in Florida available, ready, and a renter for that property. And I must say, for me personally, there are many things about which I could be anxious. The mortgage payment is coming due on that, and we don't have the money to pay 2 mortgages. There's so many details that need to be taken care of, and I could be consumed with the anxiety. And as a matter of fact, last week, about Thursday and Friday, I was feeling that way. I just felt like everything was spinning out of control, and it was making me exhausted. And then I read a little encouragement that in a flip book that someone had given me that said, peace is not denying the circumstances that you are in, but it's trusting that God is enough in the midst of your circumstances. And it really made me stop and say, you know what? God is enough. God is enough for the circumstances that we are in. And immediately when I just acknowledged God is enough, it was as though a peace, a settling down in my mind and my heart came almost immediately. What is it for you? What is it that you've been dealing with that brings up or wells up that anxiety? May I encourage you today to be anxious for nothing, but instead pray about it specifically. Make that request known to God, and then let the peace that surpasses all understanding guard your heart and your mind in Christ Jesus. Because when you acknowledge, and I would encourage you to do so verbally, that God is enough in the midst of your circumstances, what I know and I experienced in my own life just last week is that it truly brought an immediate sense of relief that I can trust God to take care of in what He knows to be the best way and in the best timing, what He knows is best for us. And so I want to encourage you to do the same. So one way that you might do that, take Philippians 4, 6, and 7, write it on your bathroom mirror, read it every day for the next week. Be encouraged and choose to trust God and allow that peace that we've been talking about over the last 3 weeks to make a difference in your life. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you back here for our next MTV.